welcome from all at Radio.O.R.K.S World. I'm Roger Cheetham, creator of the Life You Deserve programme, author of the book, and now host of the live online talk show, also sharing the same name. This week, it's an honour and a privilege to introduce my guest this week. She's a lady who's worked in health and fitness for over 20 years. She's worked with mental health for many, many years and has even coached a mental health football team as well, who has gone to great things, but I'm sure she'll be sharing more about that with you during the course of tonight's show. So my guest this evening is Lisa King, and to tell you a little bit more about the lady herself, Lisa, it's over to you.
Hi Roger, nice to be here, and thank you for understanding last week when
no problem at all.
I wouldn't have sounded too good if I'd have been on here last week. Yeah, my name's Lisa King. I'm 46 and I live in southwest London, and I've been in the health and fitness industry for over 20 years now, working in personal training as well as mental health has been a huge part of my journey in the health and fitness industry. I did it today, actually. I've been doing it for about 12 years, working with people who ranging from anxiety and depression to schizophrenia. And I basically run a circuit and gym session with them. So these can be predominantly guys that are community-based that will come along, and we get them laughing, you know, and just socializing, and it has a massive impact on their mental health. And about 11 years, myself and Michelle, who works as the clinical side, we set up a football team. I was captain of my football club at that time and really wanted to try something a bit different. So we set up Hounslow Hawks. So they are a chartered standard club now, been running for over 10 years. I left just over a year ago now because commitments got really busy. So I left, but they're still up and running. And I'm big into working in mental health and still do my personal training, but I've gone more now into a lot of mindset and online courses and groups and things like that.
Okay, I'm not the typical Yorkshireman, to be honest. I'm not a fan of football at all, which is quite frowned upon. But you mentioned there were was it a standard chartered team you referred to them as? What does that actually mean, Lisa?
So basically, what it means is it's recognised by the Football Association as reaching a certain level of funding and a standard to which it can sort of run alone type thing. So it was originally backed by West London Mental Health. So they would pay for me and for facilities, whereas now a lot of the money is coming in through funding. And when you're chartered standard, you're able to get a lot more funding. So you're able to attract more, Brentford Football Club at the moment are actually coaching now since I left. Michelle got Brentford Football Club in, so we've had really good links with them, and they're our local club. So they're now, one of their coaches is doing the sessions, which is great, and keeping the lads working hard.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I always try to find out a little bit about my guests before the actual show, so don't look too worried about that. But I did have to find out that.
What exactly do you know, Roger?
One of the things that we had in common growing up was the fact that we both shared the same favourite story, which was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess that neither of us are going to get a chocolate factory left to us. So, as far as legacy goes, Lisa, what does legacy mean to you?
Legacy to me is, for me personally, I want to help people to break through limitations and whatever's stopping them, I want to help them to push through. And I think for me, legacy is important to, be remembered as making a difference. And personally, I want to you know, I want to be known as somebody who just really gave a lot of value and just really went that extra step to help people out and give people the confidence and the motivation to realise their brilliance.
Excellent. And I know from my own experience of nearly losing my own life, and you know, when you lose someone close to you, you know, it really does make you focus that little bit on the difference you've made so far and whether you feel you've done enough.
Yeah.
And I know sort of it's often strange what the universe throws at us, and sadly you were too ill to do the interview last Monday. That said, you know, I am aware that last Friday was the anniversary of a very significant date to you, wasn't it, on the subject of legacy? You know, I'd just like to say to our audience, obviously I have been sensitive enough to check with you in advance, Lee, so that you're okay to talk about this.
Yep.
Would you like to take the opportunity now to share with our audience, please, the reason that last Friday was a significant anniversary for you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, in February 2009, my partner Becky was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and it was a very, very huge tumour. It had been missed by the GP, much to our disgust, but that's another story. So in February, she was diagnosed, and it was basically a lot of chemo and radiotherapy followed over the next 5 months. So much so, I mean, it was so intense. They did say that because of the size of the tumour, they would have to throw an awful lot at her. She was very fit, so it wasn't anything that was a problem in respect of that. But one thing that we didn't understand at the time, and it wasn't really made clear to us, was the mental health implications of this treatment. So she had lots and lots of chemo, really successful, and radiotherapy. It was really successful, and she went into remission in July. So this was July 2009, and slowly started to get her life back in order to a degree. But unbeknown to us, she had sort of sunk into a bit of a depression. Now, we didn't know that at the time. With the type of cancer it did send her into menopause, which had a massive, massive impact. And then on one evening in January, so it would have been effectively the 24th of Jan 2010, myself and Becky had a conversation with regards to our relationship, and my life and my focus had been around her and her treatment and everything, and I'd sort of lost myself at that time, and I had a massive medical problem come up, so I had to then deal with it. So we had a conversation on a Sunday night, and basically the conversation got quite deep about feelings and things like that. And I was very honest and said I didn't know how I felt with how everything was, and I needed a bit of space. And I just wish I would have known that this depression was there, because the next day I thought Becky left for work, and I got a knock at the door on Tuesday to say that she had taken her own life and that her body had been found on that Tuesday. So yeah, it was tough. It was, you know, there are no words to ever on TV and you see the police arriving at somebody's door, and you sort of think, oh God, what would that be like? But yeah, it was like nothing I would ever wish on anybody. So it had a huge, huge impact on me. For the next year, to be honest, Roger, I went into self-destruct. I had 3 businesses at the time, so I had to keep those businesses going as best I could. I let go of one because it was just I couldn't do it. So, but I self-destructed. I was drinking. I was doing things that I really shouldn't be doing, and it was tough. My body took a real beating from it, physically, mentally, in every which way. And about a year after, so I met Penny, who's now my wife. So, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would be here. I wouldn't be in such good shape as I am now. So it was a journey, and I never thought I'd say it then, but I am where I am now because of what happened. And that's a really weird thing to say.
No, I can sort of relate to that much more than you'd realise, to be honest. So I know exactly where you're coming from with that, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having the strength to share that story with us today. Hopefully, it's something that you can now use for the greater good, and hopefully, if anybody in our audience that resonates with, let's hope that it's helped them in some way. You're sharing that with us today.
Yeah. I'm currently writing a book, which is our story, as in the Becky's journey, and I'm writing that so that people who undergo cancer treatment, specifically women with that particular type, because it throws up all sorts of hormonal issues and things like that. And I'm writing that book to help people understand that, and then also to help people get through similar to what I went through, because my journey over 2 years after Becky had died, I ended up in the doctor's surgery and basically told by my GP that if life doesn't change, then I'd either have a stroke or a breakdown. My body had given up. So I want to help people to be able to understand how life can grab you and how it just affects you so much in so many different ways.
Okay, well, I think if you can answer that question, Lisa, you can probably answer anything. I say, just to stress to the people of our audience, I did check with you before asking that question.
Absolutely. I was quite happy. Yeah, totally.
Just on the subject of questions, actually, something that I've not mentioned with this being a relatively new platform to this show. If any of our audience do have any questions that they'd like you to answer this evening, if they just type them in the comments below, they'll actually pop up on the screen for us, and therefore at least we know we're serving our audience and answering the questions that they'd like the answers to. So absolutely. I didn't mention that any earlier on, but I just thought we'd once you'd answered that question, then I'd put that to our audience. So during that answer, I'd just like to say good evening to Elisa Harris. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right there, Elisa. I know Elisa's with us today, listening into the show. So hi, Elisa. So from what you were saying then about the past, obviously I believe that Becky and Becky's memory must have been quite an inspiration to you.
Yeah, I mean, Becky was a very positive person. So I'll give an example. She used to do motivational work for the England rugby team.
Yeah.
So she, when she died, I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of people at her funeral. Martin Johnson and Rob Andrews were there. There were, she was very highly thought of. But it was the way it happened because of the person that she was. So for me, her death has to mean something.
Yeah.
Something has to, a positive has to come. And I would never ever have thought, somebody actually said to me not long after she died, something positive will come from this. And I'll be honest, Roger, I thought I was going to punch them at the time. Yeah. It was literally like 2 weeks after. And I'm like, how can you say that? But it does. And time really does heal. And so it's, it was really hard, but now I'm sort of recovering. And I really need to make sure that her life stands for something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it will do, because the courses that I'm running and things that are happening, as well as the book, are all about ways that I recovered and how I sort of took myself to the next level through things that I've been through. And yeah, I can get by now without getting too upset, which is, I never thought I'd be able to tell my story quite openly without being upset, but I can now, because this is really important to me. This is something that changed my life, and I know that it will change other people's lives. So I've got to make sure it happens.
Okay. And just before I ask you where else you take inspiration from, Lisa, just to say hi to Carol Carrington and Tracy Reynolds as well, who are with us today.
Hi guys.
Do those names mean anything to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, yeah. I thought,
Elisa is the, like, literally straight after Becky's death. I know her as Ellie. She came and literally lived here, lived to help me get through after for a good while. So yeah, she played an important part. Yeah.
thank you for being with us tonight, Ellie. I'm sure it means a lot to Lisa to have you here.
Yeah, and the Tracy and Carol are friends of mine, so yeah, so I know them well.
That's good. Nice to have the support.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where else do you take inspiration from, Lisa?
I'm the sort of person that I'm sort of quite an in-your-face type person, so I like to motivate people, and I'm very honest, and maybe sometimes a little bit too honest. So I get inspiration from I like Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
he's somebody who I really admire, and I've done his UPW, which was brilliant. But my biggest inspiration is my mum.
is your mum?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because we went through a lot of things with my dad, which could be a whole nother interview. But she just got on with things, She got me and my brother up the right way, and things could have been a lot different, leading up to things. And she's always been there, and always somebody who, when someone says to you, "Oh, you're just like your mum," or "You're going to be just like your mum when you get older," I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm totally good. Yeah.
But Tracy Reynolds was just saying, no, would never have guessed. So.
Tracy knows my mum. Yeah. So in the course that I run, one of the days was all about your inspiration. Yeah. So I put a picture up of myself and my mum. So people would have seen that. So that might be the comment there.
Right, I see. And how important is it to you to inspire others, Lisa?
I think I went into the health and fitness industry to do that. It's always been something that's been important to me, because I see a lot of people who don't realise what they're actually capable of. So to me, it's always been something and a goal of mine to be able to show people what they can do. And I think now, since Becky's died, and I've started to look more at mindset and look at how people can give people the tools to be able to do it, not just talk about it. I think that's helped me to help myself as well. So it's really been something that I've always wanted, but now have a much deeper understanding of.
Yeah. And Ellie's just popped up and said that you've always been an inspiration in her life. So that's really lovely words there from Ellie. So thank you for that, Ellie.
Thanks, I'll pay you later.
Ellie, you don't mind me calling you Ellie. Yeah, she'll say, be a huge inspiration in her life. Your courses have helped her achieve and do things that she never thought she could do. So there you go. Great testimony to you there from Ellie, Lisa.
Yeah, one of the things that the picture that you can see, can you see the picture of three people there? That's Ellie at the front. I'm in the pink hat, and my wife Penny is in the blue jacket behind. And that picture was taken at Scarfell Pike. after we climbed it, and one of Ellie's biggest fears was actually getting to the top of Scarfell Pike. So I'd sort of kept pushing her, and she nearly hit me at times, but she got to the top. So it was a really, really big moment, which was really good.
Excellent. Well done, Ellie, for that.
Yeah, she was brilliant. She was really good.
Was Ellie the lady with the colourful language, or is that another lady that you took up there?
No. Oh, yeah, that was. I can't say her name, but
No, I understand.
But that I do a charity climb every year for a local kids charity, and we went to Snowdon, and this lady had been through a lot of domestic violence and had physical and mental scars from that. Yeah. And when I mentioned about doing this, I won't say exactly what she said, but let's just say she used some colourful language, and she said, "You'll never get me to the top," and we did. It was hard, and there were tears and everything, but she made it, and we went as a group. There were quite a few of us. But she got to the top, and she just said it was something that one of the real poignant things is her daughter changed the way she looked at her after that. It changed their relationship because she didn't realise what her mum was capable of, so that was really powerful.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So that was really good, and the challenges have always been something I've enjoyed myself. So it made sense to then incorporate it into what I did with regards to the inspiration and things.
Right. Just like to take this opportunity to welcome Camellia Bogdan as well, who's now with us today. And to say thank you very much to Camellia for last week for stepping into the breach, Lisa, when unfortunately you weren't well enough to do it. And, picked Camellia as someone that we both know from your group. And I think, to be honest, she really did fly the flag for Step Up and Stand Tall.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, obviously that's the name of your Facebook group, Step Up Stand Tall 21-day challenge, and Camellia did a great job of representing that last week. So absolutely. Thank you very much from us both, Camellia, for doing so. It really was.
Yeah.
So on to independence then, Lisa. What does independence mean in your life? Because obviously from what you've shared so far, I guess there have been times when you've been sort of really a strong independent lady, as I see you now, and then times when that really hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Roger, I would say it's only really been in the last sort of probably 18 months, been maybe 2 years that I've started to really get my health into any sort of position to be okay. I used to get a lot of chest infections. For example, part of the burnout, one of the major implications it had on my health, which had a knock-on effect to my independence, was that I used to get a lot of chest infections brought on by the burnout. So I had 10 chest infections within a 6-month period, really quite bad. So now when I get like chesty cold, which is what I had that stopped me coming on, now they just like knock me out for a few days, whereas it used to be a few weeks.
Yeah.
So now my independence is pretty much back to what it was. Massively due to my wife's support, Penny. She's nobody understands what actually happened. I didn't even tell my family how sick I was. Nobody knew. Nobody apart from Penny. So her patience and her support and her love, because we went through some stuff. So I didn't have the independence to want to go out. I went from being a social butterfly, always out, lots of friends, always out and about, to somebody who just couldn't even want to leave the front door. So my independence wasn't there for quite a long time. But getting that back now and helping others to get theirs is pretty special.
I can imagine. Would you like to share with us a fresh start, either of your own or a fresh start that you've helped someone else with?
Oh, I think one of the biggest ones for me, again, I can't name names, but I worked in mental health, and I was not long after Becky died, I was in contact with somebody that I trained within the mental health community. And one of the annoying things when you're working professionally is that you're not supposed to actually divulge your personal details. So I had a real big decision to make, because I was talking to a gentleman who had lost his daughter, and his daughter had committed suicide. So I could really understand. And when you say to somebody, I understand, when it's something as massive as that, and you're not supposed to actually share that, how I understood, it was really frustrating for me. So I made a big decision to just say, do you know what? They can sack me. I'm going to be really honest with him. So I sat down, and we were talking, and he was going through all the emotions as to how he was feeling, because he was the last person effectively to have a conversation, as was I, you see. So our stories really did relate to each other. Yeah. And it was at that point where he looked at me and he just said, how can you possibly understand? And I went, right, that's it. So I told him, and we were both in tears. But it wasn't sort of like a real sad type of tear. It was like a relief, because for him, he knew I got it. He totally understood that I totally could understand his situation. So we talked a bit. We couldn't do too much. There were other people around, so we had to be careful.
Yeah.
But I gave him my number, which is another thing you're not supposed to do, but I didn't really care. I've never really been good with rules. So I got a message basically from him a few months later, and he basically turned around to me and said, what you did and what you said that day saved my life. Wow. Because he was contemplating doing exactly the same thing she did. So that was huge. That was huge for me, and it helped me. I think it helped me to realise that I had to share my story.
Yeah, I can't imagine you could put into words how you felt at that moment.
Oh, I wanted to, when I left the room, when on the day we were talking, I just burst into tears, but I couldn't let him see that. But I cried again when I got the message, but for a whole different reason, just because I knew he meant what he was going to do it categorically. He had a history, and by me having that conversation, he left that hospital within a few weeks, and he's okay. So yeah, that was massive. That was a real massive thing.
Yeah, I understand the rules are there to protect everyone, and sometimes it can feel like a little bit of a barrier. You know, sometimes I find that the only way to sort of demonstrate real empathy with another is to be able to share your own experiences to a degree, and obviously there are rules and regulations around that. Which that does bring me nicely on to the next point, which is empathy, which you've sort of demonstrated a lot of already. Would you just like to take a moment to discuss what empathy means to you as a person in your own life and business and the people you're working with? The world in general, really. So I know that's a bit of a big question there all in one, so I'll stop talking and let you start answering that one.
I think the thing is, I think the world is changing quite massively, and it's quite scary, really. The way communication's changing, and the way that people don't talk the way that they would normally talk. And I think a lot of people they listen to reply, and they don't listen to actually hear what people are saying. And I think what everything has taught me in the previous years is that people can get over things and people can get through roadblocks and things. They really can. But by sharing experiences and by sharing your personal experience, you can be a shining light to people. And I think that's missing a lot now. I think there's people feel that it's a weakness or that they're vulnerable to share their stories. And I was one of them. I've always been a very good listener, but I used to at times listen, but not really hear what, I sort of, now I listen because I really want to understand. I don't just want to listen to reply to somebody. I now listen to understand so that I can help as much as I can. And I think that nowadays, I just think that empathy, it's hard to explain. I think it's such an endearing thing to be able to turn around to somebody and show them with true compassion that you really care, and it can be life-changing to anybody, even the strongest, most, blocked off person. If they can see somebody actually is listening, even just a tiny bit, it impacts. It really does. It impacts, and I don't think people realise the power of it.
I think one of the most important phrases I've come across is I hear what you're saying, and people to actually mean that, not just to come up with that as a response. For somebody to say that they hear what you're saying and to be able to demonstrate that they do hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of empathy, to be honest. So that's pretty much, what you were saying there.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can have a conversation with somebody. But if somebody tells you something that is so poignant and so impactful for them, and you just hear it, but you don't actually listen and really, really take in what they're saying, it's as if to me, this is my opinion, it's as if what's happened isn't important. But if you do the opposite, you show people exactly how important they are, and that 5 minutes with somebody where you're taking the time to actually listen to them and understand what they're saying, and really, they matter, and you give them that time, that's huge. It's
Absolutely.
huge. And the more people that do that, the world will be I hate to do this all, the world would be a better place, but it would. Yeah.
No, great answer that, and that wasn't a deliberate pause.
That's all right.
Actively listening to you there, and just making sure that I was practicing what we preach. Yeah, ladies, rare find a man that listens, right? I thought I'd say it before you did, Lisa.
And it's being recorded, so it's gone out, so it's fine.
Right, so if any of our audience do have any questions for you, because I realise we're getting close to the finish, so if there's anything that has gone unanswered, if you'd just like to type it into the comment section below the video, I'm sure Lisa would love to answer the question for you before she goes. Just one last question from me then, Lisa. What does the term inner peace mean to you?
I think inner peace is, for me, is happiness. Inner peace is when I can be really present wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. Inner peace is where I'm being me, full of integrity and giving all of me in whatever situation I'm doing. And that can be in work, in business, in relationships, anything. I think inner peace for me is where I can feel total happiness and being true to myself.
Beautiful answer, that, Lisa. Thank you very much for that. So still nothing from our audience then, so I don't think we've left them on the edge of the seat too much with any unanswered questions.
I think they're being nice, Roger.
Is that it?
They're being nice because they know me, you see. So I'm thinking, if they're still online, what are they going to ask me?
So, as a show host, obviously I have a responsibility to the audience, but I also like to try and make my guests feel comfortable as well. And I know there'll always be a thought of, well, I was hoping this would have got asked, and I know that was never touched upon. So, for that reason, is there anything else that you'd like to share, Lisa, that you're wanting to air on the show today that's not got covered?
Okay. I really just wanted to mention about my challenge group. It's a free Facebook group all around challenges and health. And it's on the, where is it? It's the Step Up Stand Tall Challenge team. So if you go to Facebook and put that in and come and join us, you know, and just get information on health, contact me on my email address, which is in the chat box, and feel free to ask any questions if you don't want to ask now. I've got lots of courses and things that I'm doing. And if you just want to have a chat, if there's something that I've spoken about that really resonates, please feel free to get in touch because I'm quite happy to share information. I'm quite an open book. So I'm more than happy. So, yeah, if people are listening, please feel free.
I have to say, I've only been a member in the Step Up Stand Tall 21-day challenge Facebook group for a week or so now, Lisa. But credit where it's due. There's some great stuff in there. I've had a bit of a look back. So obviously, I've sort of joined close to the end of the 21-day challenge. So I've been looking back to see what the challenges have been over the days, and as a result of just being in that group, I think for the first time in my life ever, I had a day being vegetarian last week. I can't remember what day that challenge was from.
Brilliant.
Significantly ups my intake of water as well, because that was another challenge from another one of the days. So just another 19 for me to get through now to be a fully fledged member.
Yeah, the challenges are generally around just ideas that we all know, but it's just to sort of give you the tools within those ideas to be able to bring you better health in lots of different areas. The courses and things like go into a bit deeper things, fears and limiting beliefs, that type of thing. But the challenge group I love because there are so many different people in there, you know, different ages, different walks of life, different everything. And it's good. I'm enjoying it. And my mission is to get it up to 400 members within the next week. So I've got about another 50 or 60 people to get in. So come and join us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would just like to echo that. If you would like to join Lisa's community, it is Step Up Stand Tall 21-day challenge on Facebook. And I know, as Lisa just said, you're looking to get 400 people, which you're quite close to now, aren't you? So
yeah,
I've just invited more than 2 people, so that's me. So a signed copy of your book now, Lisa.
Excellent. Love it.
I'll have to do a book swap and read each other's. See how you
Absolutely. Consider it done.
Excellent. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you this evening. Glad you're feeling better. And again, thank you for the timing of this, with it being sort of the first show after your significant 8-year, I believe, wasn't it, anniversary
8 years.
on Friday. So thank you for taking the time out this evening to come and talk with us and be a guest on the Life You Deserve show.
Thank you for asking me.
So to our audience now, just to let you know that the Life You Deserve show will be back at 8 p.m. GMT as usual next Monday evening. In the meantime, if you'd like the opportunity to see the tables turn and the interviewer become the interviewee, the brand new Broadcast Your Passion BYP brought by RadioW.O.R.K.S is airing for the first time this Wednesday, the 31st of January, and I'm one of the first guests to be interviewed by Marina. So,
brilliant.
If you want to see how the guests are, be related as the guest rather than the interviewer, that's Broadcast Your Passion I don't actually have a link to hand, so I don't know. We may see that come up in the next few seconds. But if you do go to Facebook and look for Broadcast Your Passion, I'm sure you'll find us there on Wednesday. And there are all kinds of shows actually airing for the very first time on that during Wednesday. If not, once again, Lisa, thank you very much. It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you this evening. I mean that. And to you, Lisa, to all our guests, for myself, Roger Cheetham, and all at RadioW.O.R.K.S, thank you very much. And bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Roger.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.